My fiancée framed me to hide her affair with her coworker, so I sent the screenshots to HR and walked out with the ring still in my pocket. I'm a 29-year-old guy and I thought I had life figured out. I met Riley during a friend's engagement party. She had this wild, magnetic laugh that cut through the room like a song I didn't know I'd been waiting to hear. We clicked fast, dated for 3 years, moved in together after one. And when I finally proposed at the cabin her dad built in the mountains, she sobbed into my neck and said yes, like I'd just saved her life. For a while, everything felt golden. She hung the ring on her Instagram like a trophy, called her mom every day to plan the wedding, talked about honeymoon options with stars in her eyes, and I thought, this is it. This is the rest of my life. But not even 2 weeks after the proposal, something changed. It was subtle at first. She stopped cooking with me at night, said she was tired from work. She stopped leaving her phone face up on the table. I chalked it up to wedding stress or maybe deadlines at the architecture firm. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her because the alternative felt like tearing open my chest. Then one night I walked in with takeout and found her sitting on the couch, totally spaced out. Her phone buzzed and she jerked like she'd been caught sleepwalking. I laughed and teased, "Hot date I should know about?" She smiled too quickly, too tight. Said it was just a work group chat, but the way she locked the screen and tucked it under the blanket, that's when the first crack formed. I didn't want to be that guy, jealous, controlling, so I buried it. Pushed the doubt down so far I hoped it'd die on its own. But that seed was planted, and even if I couldn't see the roots yet, something was already growing, something I wasn't ready to face. It started with my shoes. Riley hated them, called them dad sneakers, said they made me look like I gave up. I laughed the first time, shrugged it off. But then it was my jeans, my haircut, the way I said yeah instead of yes around her boss at dinner. "It's just feedback," she'd say, like I was a draft she was editing. At first, I thought maybe I did need to level up, be more polished, be more whatever she wanted me to be. But that no matter what I changed, it wasn't enough. If I cleaned the kitchen, I missed a spot. If I planned a date, it was too basic. If I complimented her dress, she'd say I only noticed because someone else must have complimented it first. It wasn't teasing, it was targeted. And I felt it in the way she looked at me, like I was a project under review. I tried bringing it up one night, told her I felt like I was constantly failing some invisible test. She blinked, like she didn't expect me to speak. Then came the sigh, the head shake. "You're being dramatic," she said. "You always take things so personally. Maybe if you weren't so insecure." That word hit me like a slap. Insecure. It made me retreat, swallow my words. Suddenly I was the problem, not the pattern. And meanwhile, our intimacy vanished like someone shut off the switch. She went to bed before me, turned her body away when I tried to hold her. And when I rolled over one night, half asleep, and reached for her, she flinched like I was a stranger. Her phone was locked now, always on silent, always face down. I kept telling myself it was a phase, a storm we'd pass through, but I was the only one holding the umbrella. And the rain was getting heavier. It was a Wednesday night and my phone was dead, like fully black screen, 0% kind of dead. Riley's phone was charging on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower, so I grabbed it to check the time. That's all I was trying to do, just check the damn time. But the second I touched it, it lit up. A notification blinked across the screen. Jess, work. Can't stop thinking about last night. My heart hiccuped. I froze for half a second. Then Riley's voice shouted from the hallway, "Hey!" "Don't touch my phone." She came into the room still dripping, towel barely clinging to her, and ripped the phone out of my hand like I was holding her passport and a loaded gun at the same time. "What the hell, Riley?" I said, stunned. It just lit up. I wasn't snooping. She didn't answer right away. Just stared at the screen, lips tightening. Then she laughed way too loud and said, "Oh my God, that's Jess. We always joke like that." "She's gay, babe," but her voice cracked on the word gay. That little stumble. It rattled me. I wanted to push, Ask to see the message. Ask why there was a heart next to Jess's name. But I didn't. Because the moment stretched too long and the room felt like it was holding its breath. And part of me, God help me, wanted to believe her. We were engaged. You don't build a life with someone just to fill it with lies. Right? So I kissed her forehead, said, okay, let it go. But that night, when she fell asleep beside me, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, trying to quiet the sound of my gut screaming, because I'd seen enough to know something wasn't right, and I ignored it anyway. It was like waking up in someone else's life. Riley started using words I'd never heard in our relationship before. You're being unstable. You're spiraling. This feels emotionally abusive. At first, I was too stunned to react. Then I started wondering, am I? Was I doing something wrong and not seeing it? I'd ask simple questions like, why are you home so late? Or, who were you texting at dinner? And suddenly I'd be met with tears. Full-on, mascara-running sobs. She'd crumble to the floor and sob, I can't keep living like this. You're suffocating me. And I'd freeze. Apologize? Say I didn't mean to make her feel that way. It didn't matter if I said it softly, gently, even with love. Somehow, every question became a weapon. Every concern became proof that I was the problem. She started telling her friends I was possessive. Said I checked her phone constantly, even though I hadn't touched it since that night with the Jess message. One of her friends, whom I used to get along with, looked at me differently during game night. Like I was some walking red flag. That's when I realized Riley was telling people a version of our story that didn't exist. And the worst part? I started believing it. I stopped bringing things up. Stopped asking questions. I tiptoed around her moods like I was living with a bomb I couldn't defuse. My stomach was in knots all the time. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. This quiet, apologetic man who said sorry more than he said, I love you. But what I didn't realize back then was that she wasn't just tearing me down emotionally. She was building a case, carefully, deliberately, brick by brick, laying the groundwork for something far bigger. Something designed to ruin me. It happened on a Monday. I'd just finished my morning coffee and was halfway through replying to emails when I got a ping from HR. Subject line, urgent, private discussion today at 10:30 a.m. No context, no explanation. My stomach flipped. I figured maybe it was about someone on my team, maybe a minor complaint, a misunderstanding. But when I walked into that sterile, glass-walled conference room, it wasn't casual, it was an ambush. The HR director, Marla, sat across from me with a folder and a laminated corporate code of conduct manual in front of her. This is a confidential conversation, she said flatly. But we received a serious report. I blinked. Report? About what? She opened the folder. Allegations of emotionally aggressive behavior, manipulation, and signs of instability at home that may be affecting your performance at work. I felt my pulse in my throat. She slid a few printed screenshots toward me. I stared at them. Messages supposedly from me, saying things like, you can't leave me, and I'll ruin your life if you embarrass me at work. Again, I hadn't written a single word of it. Then she said it. These were submitted by your fiancée. Riley, I couldn't breathe. Riley, the woman I lived with, slept beside, trusted with every broken part of me. I told Marla it was fake. That I'd never said any of that. But she gave me the look people give when they think you're in denial. We're not terminating you, she said, but you're under formal review. Effective immediately, I walked out of that room in a daze, past people I knew, people who probably already heard rumors. My legs felt like paper. My skin burned. I didn't know what was worse, being accused, or realizing the person I loved had crafted the noose herself, and I had no idea how far she was. Willing to go, that night was the most surreal experience of my life. I came home with my shirt still clinging to the sweat from HR's interrogation, heart pounding like it hadn't stopped since I left that room. And there she was, Riley, in sweatpants, hair in a messy bun, standing at the stove like we were just two lovebirds winding down after work. She turned, smiled, and said, "Hey, babe, I made your favorite, my favorite." As if she hadn't just tried to professionally bury me alive. I stood in the doorway for a second too long, unsure whether to scream or collapse. But I sat down, I ate. I watched her scoop rice onto my plate and hum along to the TV. And the whole time I kept thinking, who the hell is this woman? After dinner, she cuddled up beside me on the couch, even kissed my cheek. My body flinched. I didn't mean for it to, but I couldn't help it. Her touch felt foreign now, like it came with a blade tucked underneath. Then, right in the middle of some sitcom laugh track, she said casually, "I told Jordan today how hard it is to feel safe in your own home when someone's always checking up on you." My blood ran cold. Jordan. A name she'd never dropped before. A coworker. A man. She said it like it was normal, like she had the moral high ground. As if I was the danger. But in that moment I knew. I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't stress, and it wasn't my imagination. She wasn't just painting me as unstable. She was clearing space for herself, for him, for whatever new life she was planning. That didn't include me. I went to bed that night beside her, the ring still on her finger. And I laid awake, staring at the ceiling, knowing I'd hit the bottom, and she was the one who shoved me there. The next morning, my laptop wouldn't turn on, just a black screen with the spinning wheel of death. Riley was already dressed for work, pouring coffee like she hadn't dismantled my world brick by brick. I asked if I could use her laptop to send a quick client file. She hesitated for a second, then nodded. "Sure, just don't mess with my tabs," she said, laughing. My hands were shaking as I took it. She left for work 5 minutes later. The second the door clicked shut behind her, I opened the lid, and there it was. She hadn't logged out of her email. At first, it was just work stuff, newsletters, office memos. But then I saw it, an email from Jordan M. with the subject line, "Last night." I clicked, and my stomach flipped so hard I thought I'd throw up. Paragraphs of filth. Memories of what they did in the hotel room. How he missed the curve of her hips. How he couldn't wait to be rid of the roommate so they could finally have mornings together. And her replies? Just as disgusting. "I told HR he was unraveling," one line read. "Won't be long now." She was talking about me. I kept digging. The thread went back months. Midnights, weekends, quick lunch breaks that weren't really lunch. And worse, Jordan was married. Still married. They were coordinating their exits. Riley wrote, "Once he's out of the picture, I can breathe again." Out of the picture. Like I was a contract they were ready to terminate. My hands were ice cold. My breath shallow. I took screenshots of every email, every thread, every time-stamped betrayal. Dozens of them. Saved them to a flash drive. Backed them up in the cloud. I wasn't just angry. I was done being gaslit. Done being collateral. They wanted to clean up the situation. Good, I was about to get messy. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe heavy. I shut her laptop, poured myself a glass of water, and sat at the kitchen table like nothing had happened, except everything had. Riley walked in 20 minutes later, kissed me on the forehead, and joked about how exhausted she was from back-to-back meetings. I looked her in the eyes, nodded, and smiled. It was the calmest I'd ever felt. That night, while she slept like the villain in a crime drama who thinks they've gotten away with it, I got to work. I dug up every fake message she'd used in the HR complaint. I compared them to my own chat logs and emails, time-stamp discrepancies, formatting inconsistencies, even obvious language I'd never use. Then I stored them, categorized, backed up to cloud drives and encrypted folders. She wanted war. Fine, but I wasn't going in loud. I was going in surgical. I called my old college roommate, Ethan, now a corporate attorney, and walked him through the mess. He didn't even blink. Document everything. Don't react. Don't confront her. Yet. Then I did something I knew would detonate her perfect little world. I created a burner email, attached the most damning screenshots, hotel receipts, dirty messages, the "once he's out of the picture" line, and sent them to Jordan's wife.
No message, no signature.
Just the truth, dropped like a grenade, because this wasn't just revenge. This was justice. I wasn't going to be her scapegoat. I wasn't going to let her and Jordan gaslight their way into a fresh start while I drowned in shame and HR paperwork. She built this lie brick by brick. I was going to bury it, and I was going to make sure when it fell, it crushed everything she thought she controlled. I waited until Friday morning. I knew Riley had a big presentation that day, one she'd been hyping up for weeks. She left the apartment in a power suit and red lipstick, looking like the star of her own show. And while she was playing career woman, I hit send. I submitted a formal 11-page report to my HR department. The subject line read, "Urgent, false allegations and ethical violations, evidence attached." I laid everything out, chronologically, cleanly, and without a single ounce of emotion. Just facts. Screenshot comparisons, metadata, her fake complaint, line by line, debunked with timestamps from our actual messages. I even highlighted the contradictions she made between her HR statement and what she'd told others. Then came the real bomb. A fair evidence. Dozens of emails between Riley and Jordan. Explicit, unprofessional, and clearly showing they had been plotting both their personal and professional transitions while weaponizing company policy to clear the way. I attached a folder, labeled it Misconduct and Fabrication, Private and Confidential. Then I hit send and waited. For 2 days, silence. Riley came home Friday night bubbly, gushing about how well her presentation went. Jordan had killed it too, she said. They even went out for a quick drink to celebrate. I nodded, asked how the wine was. She smiled, clueless. But by Monday morning, everything detonated. Jordan didn't show up to work. His name disappeared from the team chat. Riley, on the other hand, got a calendar invite from HR stamped urgent, 1:15 p.m. Private discussion. She stared at her phone like it had betrayed her.
That's weird, she mumbled. They usually give notice, I shrugged.
Maybe it's just about the project files. But inside,
I knew her web was unraveling, and for the first time in months, I wasn't the one caught in it. She came through the door like a storm had followed her home. Her heels clattered against the tile.
her mascara had melted halfway down her cheeks. She wasn't even trying to hide it. For a second, I wondered if she was about to collapse right there in the hallway. "Babe!" she choked out, rushing toward me.
"Please, just let me explain. I didn't move."
I didn't even blink. She dropped to her knees in front of me, hands clutching mine.
"It wasn't real," she said.
"It was emotional, okay?"
"I never meant to hurt you. I felt trapped. I didn't know how else to get out without everything falling apart." I stared at her.
This woman who had spent months gaslighting me, sabotaging my job, and smiling in my face while sleeping with someone else behind my back. Now she wanted pity. Now she wanted help. I pulled my hands away, calm, quiet. I walked over to the side table drawer and opened it slowly, pulled out the small velvet box that still held the ring I'd spent weeks picking out, the ring she used to show off to her friends, the ring she used to love. I placed it gently on the kitchen table between us. "You can keep your lies," I said, voice even.
"I'll keep the ring." She looked like I'd slapped her.
Her mouth dropped open, eyes wide. She reached for the box, but I stepped back.
Not angry, not yelling.
"Just done. I gave you everything," I said softly.
"And you turned it into a game." Then I grabbed my bag, already packed and waiting by the door. She was still on her knees when I left, frozen in place,
still trying to figure out how her perfect manipulation had unraveled in less than a week. I didn't look back, because for the first time in a long time, I finally felt free. The fallout came faster than I expected. 2 days after I left, I got a notification on the burner email I'd used to contact Jordan's wife. Message read. No reply, just silence. But a week later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she'd filed for divorce and changed the locks. Apparently, she'd printed the emails and handed them to her attorney with the words, "He can go be with his little mistress now." Jordan never returned to work. Word spread fast that he'd stepped away for personal reasons, but no one really bought it. His photo was removed from the company website. His projects were reassigned. It was like he'd been scrubbed from existence. Riley didn't get the same dramatic exit. She was called in for a second meeting with HR, and 2 days later, I saw the email, effective immediately. Riley Thompson is no longer with the company. No public statement. No farewell drinks, just a silent removal cited for ethics violations and professional misconduct. I moved in with my friend Ethan, the lawyer who helped me navigate it all. His guest room became my safe zone. I started therapy the following week, unpacking everything I'd ignored for too long, the gaslighting, the self-doubt, the way I kept bending until I nearly broke. Work cleared my record. HR issued a formal apology and offered me a transfer to a different team, away from anyone involved.
I took it. New manager.
New start. Same company, but this time no shadows trailing behind me. Riley tried to reach me. Texts, voicemails. One night she even showed up at Ethan's place, banging on the door until we threatened to call the cops. Her voice trembled through the walls, pleading, angry, desperate. But I didn't open the door. She had already told the world her version of me, but now the truth had a louder voice. It's been 6 months. I wake up in a quiet apartment now, no tension in the air, no second-guessing every word I say. My mornings are simple: coffee, a jog, music that doesn't make me feel hollow. Therapy became a lifeline, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I stayed so long.
Why I let myself shrink just to make someone else feel big. The truth?
Wasn't about Riley in the end. It was about me finally choosing myself. I've started dating again, carefully, slowly. Not because I'm trying to fill a void, but because I want to feel connection again. The kind that doesn't leave bruises on your self-worth.
I laugh more. I listen more.
But more importantly, I listen to myself. If something feels off, I don't explain it away anymore.
I don't bury red flags under maybe it's just me. I trust my gut now, and it's louder than it's ever been. People still ask why I didn't go public.
Blast her on social media or tell everyone what she did. But I didn't need to destroy her. The truth already did that. What I needed was peace. And that's exactly what I have now. The engagement ring sits in my desk drawer. I thought about selling it, but I keep it as a reminder of who I was, who I became, and who I'll never be again. Not bitter.
Not broken, just
Clear. Because love isn't supposed to come wrapped in fear. It's not supposed to feel like you're constantly walking through a minefield, hoping today's not the day everything explodes.
real love is steady, quiet, safe. I didn't just escape a toxic relationship. I reclaimed my voice, my mind, my damn life, and sometimes
Walking away is the win.